Hi, I'm Nature Nate, and I'm back in Taiwan. I was in the US. We were on tour. Wow. And I learned a lot of things. I learned that I'm a science communicator, apparently. But before we get to all that, where I was, welcome, new listeners. There are people who listen to this podcast that I don't know personally. This is awesome. This is a major thing for me. We have fans in New Zealand, kia ora. We have friends in Australia, g'day. And welcome to the show. If you want to interact with the show, like if you just found us randomly on your podcast app, look for us on Twitter and Instagram. You can find all of our social media in our show notes. Patreon, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Send us messages, send us questions. We're friendly. We also have a new Patreon, Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining the trash people. Thank you for becoming a patron. It's awesome. A little bit more housekeeping. Reviews. That's right. Not just new fans, new reviews. We even got our first 1-star review. And I'm super happy about it because that means that our show is going to people who are not necessarily our target audience. You know, look at what we're saying here. This is not a conventional science or sustainability show. It's not conventional for, I would say, most people. So I don't expect, the random person to just agree with me. I don't even expect my audience to agree with me. You can challenge me. That's the only way we learn, by challenging our assumptions, by looking at data, by not wasting our time on old ideas. But at the same time, yeah, we did get a 1-star review. So if you like the show and you want to help us out, take 5 minutes and review us on Apple Podcasts. Why not? Why not review us? It helps. 5 stars is best, but, up to you. So, with all that out of the way, with our new fans, our new excitement, where have we been? We've been at AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science's annual meeting. Think many famous scientists. Think Bill Gates. Yes, Bill Gates was there. And we were also there at the SciComm stage, which is a podcasting stage where we got to interview scientists and researchers at AAAS. And we used that excuse to go from Seattle to Portland to the Bay Area to San Francisco, which is still the Bay Area. We also went to Silicon Valley, went to Los Angeles, and then I also went home to San Diego. That has nothing to do with the podcast, but you should just know that's what I did. One of the best parts of AAAS was meeting the ocean goddess herself, the Honorable Dr. Jane Lubchenco. She's one of the super intelligent but quiet people who, once you meet them, you feel a little more confident that the fabric of society is going to hold together. From weathering superstorms to super oil pollution, Dr. Lubchenco really did a lot. She even upgraded the entire US weather satellite fleet. She even chaired AAAS while I was in a baby chair. So it's just another reason to respect her for her decades of amazing work and commitment, and I'm so glad that she sat down to talk with me. I also went to my academic home in Central California and saw my Jedi Master. His name is Jason Skorse, and he's the chair of the Center for the Blue Economy at the Middlebury Institute for International Studies. It was always a pain telling people where I went to school. He taught me economics from almost zero to then later publishing a paper in ocean economics. We talked about podcasts. We talked about the collapse of the American empire. It's going to be a really good episode. The last thing, and the thing I'm most excited about for the upcoming episodes, is how many super intelligent people we got to speak with. I'm talking batteries, cannabis, public health, food, and behavioral scientists. We talked to a lot of scientists, like many, like less than 10, but a lot. And a lot of those big thinkers made me cautiously optimistic about the state of our world. AAAS was really interesting to see because I think with all of the, Donald Trump stuff, people forget that there are a lot of American institutions doing really great research, and there's still a lot of stuff happening at the state level. It's not like all good science stopped under Donald Trump. But there is an access issue, and we need to work on how we can help people understand this research and actualize it and make it accessible. We hosted a podcasters meetup at AAAS where we got to actually meet other podcasters. It might be surprising, but I hadn't really interacted with other English language podcasters very much. And talking with them, I realized that science communication is a thing. It's a job. There are whole science communication communities. I learned that, this is what I do, which is weird. It's weird to learn that you have a job that you didn't realize you had. And this podcast fits under that category as well. And it turns out that I've kind of been doing this all along. In retrospect, when I worked at the aquarium in San Diego, shout out to Birch and Scripps Institute of Oceanography, I was doing that. I was doing science communication. And then today, my day job at a think tank is, besides researching and, presenting what Taiwan's doing on circular economy, I'm also doing science communication. I'm doing economics, I'm doing social science communication, but still I'm interpreting others' research to share it for the public. And, we get back to this podcast. My goal is to brainwash all of you to think how I do about science. At least take the same approach. So that is a science communicator job. And it's just cool. It didn't really occur to me before, and it just felt really nice to not feel so alone in what I'm doing. And in fact, there's a whole community to help me. So I'm going to explore that, as we build the podcast and move forward. My takeaway here is not to just talk about my own, hero's journey about science and sustainability, but to emphasize that, we all have different roles to play with sustainability. Not all of us can be scientists. I'm not going to be a famous scientist like Jane Lubchenco or E.O. Wilson. Scientists need websites. They need podcasts. They need a willing and educated public. They need drinks. They need food. We can all support sustainability within our own capacity. Just because you're not a scientist doesn't mean that you're not participating in that important work. And no place is in need of this more than the largest historical emitter of greenhouse gases, my homeland, and where we went on tour, the United States of America. USA. Good old USA. I wanted to close out this sort of in-between episode with a minor reflection on the West Coast, but a lot of what I'm going to say really applies to the whole US thing. I've lived abroad for about 5 years, and during that time of being outside of the US, it's changed how I look at that country. And, there are millions of different weird things I could say about the US, cars, energy, whatever, but trash is always on my mind, and I think trash is a major thing that symbolizes what the US struggles with. And trash is a weirdly big thing in America for something that has no meaningful federal policy. That's right. The U.S. has no real federal waste management policy, which is different from the European Union or different from Taiwan. And that really shows. On our trip, we went from Seattle to Portland to San Francisco to Silicon Valley to LA. I went home to San Diego. Every city, there were different bans, different restrictions on single-use materials and recycling. You go to Los Angeles, you can get a plastic bag. You go to Seattle, you have to pay. There's biodegradable composting in one city that's banned in another. One of my last days in the US, there was this normally annoying petition person outside of a grocery store. And he was saying, sign up to ban polystyrene. I bolted over to his table to sign the petition because, of course, I would. It's rare that I get to actually influence policy in the US. And when I go over to sign his petition, he tells me that not only do they want to ban polystyrene, they also want to make manufacturers pay for waste disposal. So in the rest of the world, this is called extended producer responsibility. And in every country with a high recycling rate, they also have extended producer responsibility, or EPR. Now, in California, one could argue the most green state in the United States, they are trying to get this on the ballot. And this was not even me voting. This was just to get enough petitions to get it on the ballot. So this policy, extended producer responsibility, a hallmark of developed high-income countries, successful waste management, this is just going to be put on the ballot in California. So that should give you some context for where the US is at in terms of waste management. And if you are an American and this depresses you, good. This is your first step. This is your motivation. You now know that the US lacks meaningful waste management policy, and that can inform what you want to do and how you can fix that. If you are outside the US, you probably aren't much better off. If you're in Australia, like our new listeners, you also don't have good recycling policies. But that's the good news. And that was the good news that I learned on this trip to the US. There is so much to be done. There is so much progress to be made. And there are so many smart people working on these issues that you are not alone. However, you need to be able to find your issue. For me, it's waste, maybe the oceans. Feel free to join. There's no dibs or anything. You can just pick on it. But pick one issue, pick your environmental issue, I guess, and push on it, because there are others there and you will find them and you can learn what they're doing and learn what works best, learn how not to waste your time when you're saving the environment. But the thing that I learned is, why not have hope? Because there is hope, because there are a lot of really dedicated, smart people just like you who are all trying to manifest that hope on a daily basis. And it can feel frustrating and dismal, and it can feel like there's this crazy coronavirus, and what can we do? And there's sea level rise. But there are a lot of people working on this. There are a lot of people manifesting hope. And over the next, I think, 10-ish new episodes we have, something like that, you're going to hear about all that hope. You're going to hear about all these scientists, and hopefully you're going to get a little bit more inspired, and hopefully learn what you can do to join them. Join us. Help us. So stay tuned. We have a lot of awesome content coming for you. And also, very exciting, we have our 1-year anniversary coming up next month, Earth Day. Very strategic. You know, it's easy to keep track of our anniversary because a year ago, we launched our first episode. And we don't really know what we're going to be doing yet, but we're going to try and do something interactive. So stay tuned. So that's it. This is kind of our maybe halfway episode, just to tease you along. But I swear we have really good content coming. Seriously, it's going to be the best stuff we've ever done. Yes. I'm Nature Nate, and this has been the Waste Not, Why Not podcast, recorded in our usual home base of MyCoin, a Bitcoin exchange in Taipei, Taiwan. Do you have a question for us? Email your voice recording to ask@wastenotwhynot.com. Give us a good rating on Apple Podcasts because we got that 1 star. We really need some 5 stars to fix that average. Become a monthly supporter on Patreon. We are Waste Not, Why Not on Patreon and Waste Not Pod on Twitter. This has been a Ghost Island Media production. This episode was produced by Emily Y. Wu and myself, edited by Emily Y. Wu and Yu-Chen Lai. Thomas Lee is our sound god. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. Give us a good rating. More than 1 star, please. Bye-bye.